Welcome to Care Sandwich, the podcast where we dive into the success journeys of law firm owners across the country. I'm Margarita Everline, your host and the founder of Marketing Boss, a fractional chief marketing officer firm for law firms. On this show, we'll explore the challenges, strategies, and victories that have shaped law firms and how they wrap every interaction with care. Because we believe that caring isn't just a value, it's a strategy for success. So grab your favorite sandwich, sit back, and let's dig into a conversation filled with insight, inspiration, and of course, a lot of care. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Care Sandwich. In the last episode, you might have caught a partner from Starrett Harris Injury Law. And today I have Kevin, and I cannot wait for him to tell you all about himself. But before he talks to you about himself and his legal career, he's going to start with the most important question of the show, maybe. What is your favorite sandwich?
Oh, my favorite
Because it's called the Care Sandwich.
Well, that's easy. So that would have to be peanut butter and honey. There's a backstory behind that. But
And honey?
Peanut butter and honey sandwich.
What's the backstory?
Well, so the backstory is, probably many of your listeners are parents, but when I was growing up, my mom would have these nights when she didn't feel like cooking dinner for the children. We were older, obviously, and so it was fend for yourself night is what she called it. So it was our responsibility to fix our own dinner, and inevitably, I fixed peanut butter and honey sandwiches.
That's cool. Nowadays, my kids grab my phone and order Uber.
No
like,
Uber
give me
then.
back my phone.
Peanut butter and honey sandwiches, that was a staple at our house.
That is so cool. So, Kevin, when you're not eating peanut butter and honey sandwiches and you're doing your career, your lawyering things.
My lawyering thing.
Yeah. Talk to us about that. What do you do at your firm? You specialize in personal injury.
Right.
What do you do? How do you help people? And how did you get started in this field?
So I started early on. In fact, I think I got my first LSAT book, which is the law school admissions test. I started that when I was 14 years old. I was a freshman in high school, and at that time, the idea was that I would get my law degree, sit for the bar, and then I wanted to work for the EPA. My dad was very much into the outdoors. We did a lot of fishing and trout fishing and things like that. And so I kind of developed a love for that early on in life. And I thought, well, that would be a good opportunity for me to use that to help. Mm-hmm. I think that'll be a recurring theme here, and that is helping. Mm-hmm. And so, like many things, life happened, and I ended up going to law school later on. I started what then was West Georgia College out in Carrollton's University of West Georgia now, and then I finished up my undergraduate degree from Georgia State University, got my MBA from Kennesaw State, and then went straight from there into law school, and then finished that up, and then set for the bar. So
you love school. You just love school.
No, my wife tells me that there's no more school. No more school allowed for me. But so then when I first started practicing law, I actually began that practice doing estate planning. So the way it kind of worked out is I hung my own shingle right after I passed the bar. One of the reasons I did that was because I had a lot of people from church. Faith is real important to me, and a lot of the people that I know in the community are people I know from different churches. And so at that time, I had a lot of people from the church that were asking me, once I became an attorney, if I could do their wills.
Oh, so and that just happened out of nowhere.
They're like,
you're a lawyer, can you do this?
Yeah, hey, I need you to do this, or once you become an attorney, can you do this for me? So I kind of started down that route, and then kind of along with that, started into personal injury some, and primarily workers' compensation. That was kind of the area that I was really passionate about. That was kind of the area that I started in. So I began doing that route. I did do some defense work. I did defense work for about 3 years, which I thought was very beneficial. I learned a lot doing that, but I've always had what I call a claimant's heart. to help others. So for pretty much the entirety of my law career, I've done personal injury, workers' comp, and like I said, with a little bit of estate planning thrown in there for good measure.
That's awesome. And I know from listening to a lot of your clients talk about their relationship with you that you're just such a caring person, and your clients can feel that. Walk us through how you accomplish that, because a lot of the audience for this podcast are other attorneys that are figuring out how to be fully present, handle business, eat healthy, have a life. Like, how do you do that? Like, you remember people's names, you know about their families. Like, it's impressive.
Yeah, well, it's life is all about balance, right? And so I think there's it's one thing to be sympathetic with people, right? That is saying, well, I hate it that you're going through this or that you're experiencing this, but I think there's a difference between that and being empathetic, right? And trying to put yourselves in their position. And I think that's something that I always try and do, and that is I always try and treat our clients as if they're family, and they really are in a certain way. It's very interesting in that we still, to this day, clients that we've helped, we get phone calls from them just saying, hey, how are you doing? Merry Christmas. They still reach out to us. And I think that's the reason why that is because we treat them the same way that we would want to be treated, doing to others as you have them do unto you. So a lot of that, I think, is based on, number one, what ethics are extremely important. So we have an ethical obligation as attorneys to make sure that we're taking care of our clients. But also I think that sometimes as attorneys, we tend to lose the human aspect of this. And I think it's real easy to look at, especially when you're running a practice and there's overhead and there's bills to pay and many people have families. But I think sometimes we get so focused on that we forget that, listen, these are human beings that have come to us in probably what is oftentimes the most tragic time in their life. And really, oftentimes, I can't tell you the amount of potential clients or clients that I've talked to, and they come and meet with us, and one of the first things they do is they tell you, I've never had this happen before. This is the first time this has ever happened. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I'm nervous. A lot of times we'll grab a box of tissue and cry with them. It's one of those things where it's very difficult time for them, especially the type of cases which we often deal with, catastrophic cases, where someone's is killed or deceased. Imagine looking at their spouse. There's nothing that we can do as an attorney that's ever going to bring that person back. So the only thing that we can do for them is try and give them justice and make sure that they're taken care of. So I think when we try, if we quit looking at it as just a case, just a number on a folder, and understand that these are people with feelings and they're going through these events that are life-changing events for them. They'll never be the same. Then I think it puts us in a different perspective. And I think we address it with them in a different way, one that shows empathy as opposed to just sympathy, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. Yeah. And I'm going to share something and then ask you to expand on it in a different way. It was clear to me, but I'm just... Yeah. So one thing that I've observed is, because, like they say, like attracts like, right? I'm very much about connection, authenticity. Like, that's my vibe. That's who I am. And so I work with a lot of attorneys like that. And I've seen a pattern where some attorneys go from, I love my client so much, I care so much, and then their business gets off balance, and then they go the other extreme.
Sure.
And it's like this balance. I want you to talk more about that, because I really admire the way you and Wesley run your business. Like, your business runs very well. And it's a profitable business. So it's not like those two things are mutually exclusive. Right. And I think that for those that maybe were hearing you a couple minutes ago thinking, okay, yeah, but if I do that, my business will suffer. Yeah. Talk to that audience.
Well, I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, and that is balance in all things, moderation in all things, right? So, well, Well, it takes having it's good to have a good business partner.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say about Wesley and again, I could go into a lengthy story about how we met and how this came to be. But we're very like-minded in a lot of ways, and that helps. There are certain things that we see things differently on, and that helps as well, because I think what that does, and one of the most important things in any business, is it opens up the lines of communications. And that communication, that's a way that we can kind of push through these things to resolve differences that we might have. But let's just be honest, in the end, we're running a business and a practice here. And so you have to wear many hats as you do that. And we're always trying to look at things from the perspective of, okay, obviously we have this client piece that we've got to take care of. Also, we have a business piece. We both have families, and we both have a business to run. And so the business, in order to do that successfully, we've got to be profitable. And I'll tell you that one of the ways that that's just been very helpful for us, and that we especially when we first started out our firm, we've grown so much, but when we first started our firm, we were very frugal in what we did. We were very conscious about where we were at. Our office is here in Austell, beautiful office here at the Thread Mill, but we weren't going to get a spot in downtown Atlanta in a high rise, because we just knew that was something that we were going to have to keep really
because
close.
Why, right?
Because why? I can tell you that we've never had anybody that came out here that didn't look at the place and say, "Oh, this is beautiful," or got the water fountain. So, but I think with that in mind, you have to wear those hats, each of those hats. You can't. To your point, you can't kind of excel in one area to the neglect of the other. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've been able to be such a good business, that it's been so successful, because we've tried to remember that there's not just the one piece
there. I hope you're enjoying the conversation and your sandwich as much as we are. I want to take a moment to share a few words about our sponsor, Marketing Boss. If you're a law firm owner looking to supercharge your growth, our team at Marketing Boss is here to help. We've got over a decade of experience and a proven track record, and we specialize in growing law firms like yours with data-driven marketing leadership. So if you own a law firm and you're ready to get a predictable, steady flow of cases from your marketing, let's connect at marketing-boss.com.
And one thing that I've observed that I admire, that maybe you're not even aware that you do this, but because sometimes I'm a fly on the wall in your office.
She's everywhere.
I know. They forget. So when you are interacting with a client, the eye contact, the body language, like you're fully present.
Sure.
And then you hop right back to all the other things that you have to do. And then you pause and you interact with your team. Again, fully present.
Sure.
And I think that matters.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's so much your nature that you might take it for granted, but like a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think even I do it that well. Like, you really have to make a habit out of being fully present in the moment with the people that you're with, while still minding your priorities. Like, I can tell you have your things to do and you get them done. But when you're interacting with people, like all of a sudden there's no one else.
Yeah.
And that's a really beautiful skill. And I really think that is one of the reasons, that's my opinion and my observation, that's one of the reasons why your clients feel so connected to you, because you do connect with them. And it doesn't mean that you forget about your life, you forget about your family, you forget about everything, you neglect your business. It's just that intentional space that you create to interact with people, I think, is what people feel.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful lesson, because I think that's one of the keys to that balance, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to stop working to be fully present. You can do it in little moments.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's a very kind thing for you to say. I think about this, again, talking about, not to be the proverbial dead horse, but doing as others as you won't have done unto you. I think every one of us has experienced a situation, maybe in a marriage or in a relationship or just whatever, even with kids sometimes, where you're talking to them, right? And you're trying to make a point, and all of a sudden you're looking at them and they're kind of doing this.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, I'm guilty. I think I do.
They're there in front of you, but they're not there, if that makes sense. And so, and that, that's one of those things, it doesn't make you feel good because you realize, okay, well, this person's not really concentrating on
But I don't think they do it on purpose. At least I don't.
No.
I know I do it sometimes, but you
know.
But
I think it goes to that point again that I want. Listen, I have found that one of the most important things for our clients, they want to be heard. And I know it gets frustrating for attorneys. I hear this all the time, but they've got their calendar and somebody comes in and they set them up for a 30-minute consult or 1-hour consult, and all they're doing is they just hear them talking and they're trying to wrap things up. But I think what we have to understand is oftentimes, that's their opportunity to be heard. Everybody has a story, right? And that's their chance. And so I think, like my daddy told me, the good Lord gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So sometimes that can get monotonous when we've got busy schedules and things like that. But I think it's important for us to understand that this is kind of their time to tell their story. This is they may not, only a certain amount of cases end up going to trial or going to court. This is their time to be there. This is their court. This is their time to put it all out there and talk to you about what's really concerning to them. And listen, if the thought is or the perception is that, well, I'm telling my attorney this and they're not even really paying attention, or they're sitting here texting, then how much do they really care?
Mm-hmm. And they can feel it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between, I can tell you I care about you, but not show you that.
We teach.
So.
Yeah, I wrote a book called Connect Convert, and we teach, customer service, and really it's a sales program, but customer service is the core. And that's one of the things that we talk about is you can say all of the right things, but your tone, your body language, even if you're on the phone, the facial expressions that you make, people can feel that energy.
Yeah.
And they'll know. And they'll just call the next law firm. So it's so important to really hone that skill, because it's a skill. I'm not going to say take the time, because I think what I've appreciated from you, and Wesley too, that it's not like, you sit around and you just let people go on and on and on and on and on, but it's that intentionality that opens up that space for people to talk, for you to pick up on things that you need to pick up on and move the conversation along, right? And it's very systematic, but at the same time, it's just very human and very authentic.
I think there needs to be more of that. I think there needs to be more. This is just one person's thought, but I feel like oftentimes there's not as much compassion as there needs to be, and the human side of things is been kind of pushed aside because everybody's so busy and we've got all these things going on. Listen, attorneys busy, but I think we do our clients a disservice if we're not willing to take the time that we need to take to spend with them to make sure. I always tell our clients, they're trying to recover. So their job, I tell them, their job is to get better. Let me carry the load. Let me carry the weight of whatever's going on with this case. I'll take care of that. That's why you hire me, right? So that I can handle that. Only thing I want you to concentrate on is just getting better and getting well. Yeah. And I think even that, I mean, you can oftentimes physically see it's just like, okay, I've got this burden that I don't have to worry about anymore. I know that they're going to take care of it, and I do. I just want to get better, physically get better. So.
And it's important to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others, So I would love for you, as you're comfortable, to share, like, how do you take care of you? Like, how do you do things that you, like, how do you fit that into your schedule so that you are able to pour into others?
Yeah, I think the two most important things for me, I think number one, as I've already said, is my faith. We're very active in our church, and probably close second, obviously, is my family. I've been very blessed, very fortunate with the family that I have. I'm so thankful that I have the opportunities to spend the time with them and go to the places that we'd like to go to, because you need to get that recharge sometime. You need to charge the batteries and kind of take a moment for yourself and your family. And I think that's really important, not just to physically rest, but sometimes you just got to turn your brain off, which is always really hard for me to do sometimes. But sometimes we have to turn our brain off and think on other things, and that kind of gives us that little charge that we need to keep pushing forward.
Yeah. Kevin, if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, well, I'm an attorney, but I would love to refer a case to Kevin, how can they get a hold of you?
probably the best way is just email Kevin@injurylawpros.com, or one of the things that we always do with our clients, we always give them our personal cell number, which is, I think, a good way.
But after you become a client.
Yeah. Yeah, they gotta be a client. But that keeps those, which a lot of attorneys won't do that. I get that.
Oh,
but,
I know.
Yeah.
I have some that'll okay, I'll get an extra cell phone.
But and yes, we get calls at night and we get calls on the weekends. I understand that, but it certainly opens up the line of communications with our client. But I think that, and then, so I was going to say our phone number, office phone number, 404-777-7529 is a good way to reach us, and certainly be glad to help any way that we can.
And what sorts of cases specifically would you love to be considered for from other attorneys, or even people that are not attorneys that are thinking,
Yeah, so we only do personal injury cases. Now, the personal injury umbrella is a pretty big umbrella. There's a lot of things that come up underneath that, but primarily personal injury cases, which can be things like product liability. Mostly what we do are catastrophic motor vehicle accident cases, things like that, dog bites, things like slip and falls and things like that. But primarily the bulk of what we do, motor vehicle accident cases.
So there you have it. You know who to call if you have a catastrophic case, personal injury.
Good. Perfect.
Starrett Harris.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of Care Sandwich.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Care Sandwich. Remember, the way we care for our clients, our teams, and ourselves can make all the difference in our success. Until next time, keep caring, keep growing, and I'll see you on the next episode of Care Sandwich.